we're cutting into the city of Freiburg is in the middle of turmoil, chaos that is spreading from district to district. But unlike sort of a lot of like the movie coverage and modern coverage of riots spread slowly. The chaos and the resentment, the walk through the streets, and a lot of the resentment is not the it's sort of like organized protest. This is sort of like a general anger that has been boiling beneath the surface for a very long time. Um, the Going from sort of district to district, when our camera zooms in on Feinerhard to the south, it's the one place that hasn't really been touched by it, despite it being the one place that probably has the most anger to be had about that kind of disproportion of wealth. And that's because miracles happened there. There's now a tree that has like erupted through the ground of the city, and spreads branches across all of Heinerherd. And the sort of momentum of it, the wonder of it, has uh, neutralized the anger of the area, and started to sort of give like a sense of community and pride that had never really existed before there. Um, and Finerherd was always the place of those who had nothing. Um, and now they have something, and they're willing to fight like hell for it. Um, Over in the Merchants Quarter, the response to a lot of the chaos that's erupting is to do something they never would have dared do while Nicholas Trogg was the Iron Prince, which is to close the gates of the walls that surround the Merchants Quarter. They close off. They have their own guards. They have their own captain of the guard. And in the kind of like moment of turmoil, as unrest is boiling out from other places, they have guards that are posted along the Draken Bridge, and the doors to the districts at large are closed off. Um, what's happening within it is anyone's guess. Um, Within Steinhold, the attempt is some sort of like organized response. Um, there is where you have, the movements of guardsmen, the raising of militia. There are throngs of the nobles that live in Steinhold itself that are like gathered in the administration hall, that are demanding action from Wilma Probst. Um, Over in the playground, there's sort of a sense of like not understanding what all of the fuss is about. Um, as the nobles that are there are definitely in alliance with the Steinder, those at the Steinderweisen, but they're um, not quite as privileged, and also not quite as mature, since many of them are youthful. There's also a large number of like charitable projects. It's a better example of the sort of idea of like noblesse oblige, and the wealthy generally trying to do their best for those with less. It's imperfect, but it definitely is meaningful, especially in times of strife when anger falls upon those who seem to be doing the best. In the Drakennest, there's a bit more of like an organized response. There are a lot of charitable souls that know how well they have it and are doing their best to sort of immediately organize relief and food and aid. Whereas in the complete opposite, over in the riverfront, it is chaos. Those who were living there, um, like in the area, they can see fires constantly rising. They can see, groups of armed rioters moving through the streets, um, and often in open clash with members of the Wakund and with like members of the Inquisition. Um, and then to the most northeast, we have the Steinderweisen, which is viewed by many as sort of the home of the Troubles. Its bridges are heavily guarded, and that has not stopped the people of Lucifer from occasionally breaking across them and making their way in to the Philosopher's Stone. Um, Businesses that are on the edge and are reachable across the river are frequently hit by fire, whether from arrows or thrown objects. And the organized and well-paid guards of the Philosopher's Stone are quickly putting out fires, suppressing riots, pushing back rioters, um, and doing their best to uh, and doing their best to keep all of that chaos from spilling into the daily lives of the nobles that live in the area. Um, for some who make their home in the stone the stone of the philosopher, like Arthur Wolfe, who is currently living in a luxurious tavern, um, the violence comes suddenly. Uh, it's in the middle of the night being woken by, the cries of like fire, fire, and the uh, the sudden organization of like those who are working there or staying there trying to put out the fires, and then at the same time, like doors bursting open with angry peasants coming through, sometimes armed, sometimes not, sometimes just angry and looking to hurt people. Um, there are people that are dragged off in the chaos, sometimes by the Inquisition, sometimes by the mob. Um, there are buildings that are burned to the ground, sometimes without explanation as to why. Someone's grudge, some rabble rouser who's decided that a particular place is a representation of the enemy. It's a situation in which Wilma Probst, as endangered as she is, cannot afford to sit by, and cannot afford to hide inside of the administration hall. Um, the the other thing that is happening is missives that have been sent out from uh, Logan Seeger, the young man that Rosa met in her very introduction, the young man who was crying for Nicholas Trogg, who had served as his bookkeeper. Um, he announces via the Freiburg Gazette um, that Nicholas Trogg had left the the city of Freiburg to him as a matter of inheritance, and that his backing for that position comes from no less than Redmond Earhart himself. Um, for Rosa, who has met the man, and for Wilma also, who knew him well, she has no belief that Logan had any desire to be the next Iron Prince, and that he has no say in the messages that are going out in his name now. So that is where we open, is a city in flux, a city in chaos. Hans, having struggled to find guards only a week ago, suddenly has a lot of volunteers, and also a lot of volunteers that are willing to just sort of enlist themselves temporarily, if not permanently. Does that make sense? Um, just through whatever troubles, and maybe if things work out after that, they'll look to that. There is one thing that I wanted to resolve from the last game before we kind of jump into everything, and that is the matter of um, in the wake of the tree, like sprouting, there are 40 reputation points that are going to go to the PCs to be distributed as they wish. You can choose to take none of them, you can choose to take some of them. There's 40 total, and I will leave it to the 6 of you that were there as to who is going to get what.
I'll take what's
Um,
left over.
Len will take a 5 for.
So you know that 10 points is what gives you like a full reputation die. And there are also benefits at 25 and 50 and etc.
Well, he already has 5 from the whole saving Ciosa thing. So another 5 will bump him to a reputation die, and there may be people who could use more of those points. So that's why he'll just take 5.
This is going to sound greedy, and you guys can shoot me down if you want, but I would like 14.
Go for
It'll
it.
take me from negative 13 to 1.
Yeah. It's 19 down.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Han
I would
should
say
get
it-
some.
Han should get some.
Yeah.
I can take another 5. That'll put me at 20.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
God damn.
So that's what,
I guess-
24?
Then that's 24 down.
16
I'm good.
left.
I'm full. No, thank you. Hunted background says no.
Honorine is like, I really do not need anybody in society to know that I was crawling through a sewer. Thank you very much.
She's
No
like
one can know
Cordelia
that.
in that one episode where she got a high SAT score. Like, don't worry, I'm a pro at hiding this. Thank you.
So that leaves 16 to split between.
Rosa, I don't know if that's a smart idea for Rosa to have it either, since she is hunted at the moment.
It do be the downside of being hunted.
Do you want
Yeah.
any for Arthur for whatever reason? If you can justify it.
Arthur wasn't present at the fight. This is
Yeah.
for those who were present.
16 to Runa.
Sorry.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
I do
don't
love
know,
Arthur.
Like,
Out of like,
'cause Rosa doesn't have a reputation at the moment.
I'm
It-
fine with having 16, but does anyone want any more?
What if we do like enough to Gav to get him to 5,
That's another 4.
and then the rest
if I
2?
if I can suggest, Hans is at 20, right?
Yeah.
There is a benefit that comes with having a 25.
Oh,
Um,
there's that too.
Yep, 5 more to Hans then, and then what?
Shit. Okay.
6 to Runa.
Okay.
Well, that would.
That would be, but that would leave 11 left over.
Well,
And then-
I
or
think
no,
they were
we-
getting. I think they were getting
Oh,
down
right.
to 5.
right with Gav's math. Yeah. So that leaves
7 to Runa?
Oh, 7.
Yeah,
7 to
7.
Runa. Okay.
yes.
All right, I finally have reputation points.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see.
I
See how
feel
this
like I
goes.
should have
So-
a negative at this point, and I don't know how I don't.
7
Maybe
It's actually
reputation.
like a criminal.
I
A
have
constant benefit of reputation is that it multiplies your income by the number of points that you have. Okay, so
Oh,
like
That's
if
nice.
you have, so for instance, Honorine
Jesus
has an
Christ.
income of 500 Gilder. So every reputation point for her is 5 extra Gilder per month. Does that make sense? For you guys who are splitting the 500 from the business, the amount that you get is like increased by that as like a percentile amount.
So
So it makes
Sugar
sense.
Daddy
Okay.
hands.
Yeah,
Hans is
apparently.
also
Jeez.
Hey,
Hans
how you
is also-
doing?
Hans is also getting the benefit of he is getting a patron. In this case, he is getting patroned by the Freiburg Gazette itself, which is based in Freiburg. And basically, they're like, "Look, we want to be able to come to you directly if we have issues."
Yeah.
And they're the newspaper that like serves the whole city. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So in return for that, like they're promising a regular stipend to both him and to the guards that will serve in Finer Harbor. They're aware that they're a large business and that, you know, there are expectations upon them for it.
Where are their offices
They had-
located?
They are one of the biggest buildings in the Finer Herd area. Let me just switch over to that map real quick.
Do all of the guards have to wear a Fine Heart Gazette or Freiburg Gazette like sash over
all
their
need to-
armor?
They all need a page boy hat.
It's
Yeah,
only
it's
the
like,
big
uh,
s- I
It
think
has a
6,
little
isn't
piece
it?
of paper in it that says press.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But that's-
number
and
6.
it's not that they take things down; it's that they literally press.
Wrong
This is
kind of hat.
one of 2 newspapers in the city. Print is still like a very new medium. Understand. The other one is up in the Stone de Wyssen, and it kind of specifically focuses on social matches and who's marrying who. It's called like Achtung Freiburg, and it's actually run by the matchmaker that Honorine met at the party.
So it's just the rich people news. Eh.
The Freiburg Gazette is much more of like the people's news. Does that make sense? And just a little. This is a little bit of like world building history. Like when Hans is taken in there and kind of like shown around and shown the printing presses. One of the things that they have on display is the printing press that the monk who began the Objectionist Church used to print his own flyers.
Whoa.
Like they're not using it. Does that make sense? But it's like it's a major piece of history, and like for the corollary to the real world history, the printing of flyers in like the Catholic Church talking to like the Protestants and stuff like that was the first Twitter war.
Yeah.
Like it was nasty, it was dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like they spread all kinds of slander about each other, and I see no reason not to have it work exactly that way in like the history of the Seven Sea world. Matthias Lieber, who was like the person who started the church, got dirty with some fantasies and published a lot of their dirty laundry, and they responded in kind, and also tried to have him killed.
That checks out.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, like that is there and sort of, ensconced, and it's a reflection of actually just how old this building is and how long it served.
Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool.
Got like a little mini museum in there.
Yeah, they do. Along with some of the kind of like most famous articles that they've ever put up. Uh, Gav probably knows the Freeburg Gazette as like the local place for like the orphan kids who are trying to go straight, because one of the best ways to make money in the city without being a little criminal gang member is selling newspapers and
The newsies.
whatnot. Yep.
Extra, read all about it.
Beat me
Yeah.
to it. You literally beat me to it.
All right, so that is the sort of reputation stuff that's like handled. Hens now has a patron. Oh, and that patron is going to increase your income per week by 10 guilder, so per month by 40.
Nice.
And that's before, I'm not giving any of this to you with like the reputational adjustment. Like that's on you guys to factor in.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is actually going to be a downtime session, though. This is like what your characters are doing in the midst of this kind of chaos. Does that make sense? And oh shoot, and thank you, honoring Glory just reminded me that I was still in cold open mode, and I don't actually mean to be. So let me do the bit and the things, and we can introduce everybody and officially get going on this game that we are already, 20 minutes into. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm, a 7th Sea First Edition Let's Play set in the great lawless city of Freeburg. Our art is courtesy of Hero Forge, First Edition 7th Sea, Unsplash, and Be Funky. Our producer is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful and compassionate Gloriosa, and our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Sindra. Before we get started, I want to give a content warning. While the spirit of 7th Sea is swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief. Eisen, our setting, is recovering from a 30-year civil war over religious differences. May get dark sometime, and there's no shame in bowing out. So if it's not a place your head can go at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our savvy swashbucklers, or I'm going to have them introduce themselves, starting with Runa.
Hi, I'm Ruth. I'm here today as Runa Ingvild's daughter. You found me. You can also find me here on Tuesdays as Exit, and Thursdays eventually as someone else. Were we not mentioning anything about a Thursday yet? Oops.
I kind of I didn't fully announce it on yesterday. I just haven't fully announced it yet.
But we can also pretend that never happened.
What happened? Oh no.
Huh?
Otherwise,
The ADHD hit.
Otherwise, I can sometimes be found in the Discord. If you don't see me there, you won't see me. I'm gonna pass it off to Arthur.
Hello, I am the Scarred Adventurer tonight playing Arthur. What's the polite way of saying man whore of Freeburg?
Himbo.
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 There we go. But Arthur Wolf. You'll find me here on Sundays. On Tuesdays, you'll find me playing Red Death, the assassin of insanity. Not killing insanity. I am insane and I'm killing things. There we go. That seems to round things out, right? Yeah.
Pretty accurate.
I don't think, because right now it's just the 2 games, I believe, unless I'm missing something. But otherwise, you'll find me working with the wonderful Tango Productions to eventually bring stuff to you guys. Tango Productions, of course, with Sarah Dyer King, who is very wonderful, and will bring stuff eventually. It's just it takes some time to get the stuff to have, because writing is hard. Anyways, with that, I'm going to move that over to. Oh, yes, I did. Whoops.
Yeah.
Well, yes, whoops. We're going to pretend I didn't do that either. We're going to pretend I didn't use real names. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Bison, which is not his real name.
It's not. Although it'd be way cooler and probably a lot more cringe if it was. I am Bison_Stonefist. That is how I am known on the internet and how I choose to be known. I am a regular streamer on this channel. Currently only here twice a week, but there's 2 more games down the pipe. Tonight I am playing Gav the Grin, our big, lovable Lothario, uh, uh, for Shadow of the Wachtturm. And on Tuesdays I run our Cyberpunk Red campaign. It's called Carnage Heights, and trust me when I say that the recovering drug addict is one of the saner members of the team. Speaking of members of the team, let's go to Sarah.
Yes, while I'm doing 500 things. Yes, hello, guys.
Welcome to the club.
Whee! Yes, so hey y'all, my name is Sarah. I go by Sans on the Discord. I am here technically 3 nights a week. It'll go back to being 3 after this week. Well, after a couple weeks, actually. And I can't watch cast chat. I can't trust y'all. I am in the Tuesday night game Cyberpunk Red, Carnage Heights as Magic, Broken Heart of the team, Silverlock. I love that title. I love it so much. Thursday, I was the DM for the King's Pyrite game. I'm also the DM for the next game on that night because I can't get out of the damn chair. And as here, I am Rosa Nix, the Horrid Woman. And yes, I'm stealing that one too.
It seems we should keep just ruining all your stuff for you. We're so sorry.
It's okay. Other than that, you can find me working with the Scarred Adventurer on stuff and things that'll come out eventually over on Tango Productions. And shit, who hasn't gone? I forget that this is hot potato sometimes. Down to Len.
Hi, folks. Back Kyle here. I know you were worried, but I'm here again. You can find me on Sundays playing Len. When are we having that first date? Costin, the sort of mercenary, the ass of Freeburg, and Alvasura as well, actually. He's going multinational with that one. And then you can find me actually nowhere else. Yeah, with the Thursday Fool's Pyrite game, finishing up, and that Salt Volcano that I was playing no longer relevant. You can find me on Sundays, and then you can find me on the Discord posting unhinged food beams and generally being a menace, and pretty much nowhere else. So, Hans.
That's so crazy. Hello, everybody. I'm Rory. I'm present on only this fine Sunday evening with these fine folks playing our wonderful and I'll stick with slightly possessed potentially for now. Soldier Boy Hans Ulrich. There we go. I sped through it and we still got it.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I was waiting.
But other than gaming with these fine folks here on this fine evening, you can find me officially on this wonderful streaming platform starting sometime this week. I haven't nailed down an exact date for the very first episode of this fun improv radio DJ show thing called The Basement. And you can also find, now that that's out of the way, you can also find full mixes of every episode once they happen on the accompanying SoundCloud page. I'm still working on getting stuff for actually making songs set up, so you might not find any new music on there for a bit, but that will become, that's a soon TM project. That's for later. I think the only person who hasn't introduced themselves is Honorine. So over to Honorine.
Hi, friends. I am Place of Gloriosa, also known as Honorine. Just constantly stressed lately. Always, uh, always that too tight violin string that's like ready to twang and snap. I am here only tonight. Yeah, not any other nights. So I stream here on Sundays as Honorine, our resident, noblewoman, homeless, continually just cannot keep herself a fucking home. And I'm on the Discord and I produce sometimes and I do that's it. That's all I do. Siosa, what do you do?
So I am here on Sundays doing Shadow of the Wachtturm, which you all know because you're here. And on Fridays, I am playing Anchors Away, the automaton pirate in the Pirates versus Zombies game that we have.
Check out that game. It's so adorable. I caught a clip of it, and it's just like my entire heart cannot handle how cute this crew is. Like, oh my god.
Well, thank you very much. You did catch us in some cool crew bonding moments last game, so it was a zombie-free time. So, all right. So let us do the thing. In the ancient days of Numa, the great storyteller and philosopher Ceres the Wiser once noted that an adventure can only begin in one of three ways: by death, by slur, or by letter. To begin without one of these incitements is folly, tobacco best described as an indiscretion, and dalliance, or an escapade. But fear not, we begin tonight properly girded with a slur, the most dangerous of the three, and thus the most powerful. So, in something of a flashback to something Rosa experienced some time ago, the only wall left standing of the house that she once occupied is the one that someone spray painted witch on. Everything else has been burned or knocked aside in the chaos that followed the market plots itself being destroyed. And there's a few things to kind of like sift through, and I want to know what Rosa finds amongst it that's kind of like most precious that survived the fire.
So, besides having like Otto, the book, and her cards on her, probably the most, yeah, it would be some sort of trinket from the Fideli. Something they probably gave her to keep her hands busy when she was very young and was not yet able to use cards. Something probably metallic if it were to survive the fire.
So like some knitting needles, so that because I can very much see the Fidelity with their travels, like making scarves and everything like that, and that being something that even at a young age they would be passing on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the only loss though. Tav, full name is Tovar, the Usuran that had been, on the way to be hung and also, or well, burned, and also the person who gave her a place to stay and to work from. His shop is gone as well. And she'd seen him sort of, disappearing amidst all of the wreckage and everything, but like, or during all of the chaos of the riot, but she doesn't really know what's like happened to him since. And the marketplace itself is recovering, it's sort of rebuilding, but with the constant chaos of like roaming people and like there's still like violence on a knife's edge in the district. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's actually Rosa and Honorine are both there along with Anjay.
And anyone else that would have followed as well.
Yeah.
Bruno
Anjay
would've
is there.
walked with them.
Anjay volunteered to come because she knows many of the faces of the Court of Staves, like like recognition. Does that make sense? So she would know those people in the area who were potentially dangerous. Um, the the area of Flucifer is kind of like it's like a conquest in slow motion. Does that make sense? The Wakund are kind of like trying to take street corners and stuff like that and like set up outposts and control territory in a classic military sense. It doesn't work that well because there's still sewers and rivers and all and they're just not enough manpower to kind of like stretch along that and still be effective. But that's the limitation of the mindset that they're working from. Does that make sense? And with each block they take, the more the people in Flucifer are willing to sort of push back and fight back. Um, the Inquisition itself seems to be taking a much more cautious uh, stance after the burning that the Archbishop got. And word is that he survived, but that he is in recovery.
Yeah, Rose is kind of just standing in front of her shop, heartbroken.
Honoring's gonna wrap her arms around Rosa and just. And she doesn't hug.
Mhm.
Bruna's gonna join the hug. You can stay at my place with me if you'd like.
Grazie. And kind of hearing that, she realizes, Honorine, what happened to your place? If they did this to mine, then they must have done worse to yours.
Do we go check?
I don't know. Is it
Andre's
safe to
like,
go check?
we should go there now.
Might I suggest that?
Is Len there?
Yeah, Len just followed.
Okay.
He's been kind of hanging out with the spear. Just there's not much he can do except just kind of try and protect people he cares about right now. He's gonna. Might I suggest I scout a little first, given that they are quite interested in both Honorine and Rosa. It would
We
make
have-
sense. We have some decent fighters, but they can still drown us in numbers if they set a good ambush, or just pick us off with rifles. Going to her known place of residence would be a thing they would be expecting.
And Honorine's also already dressed up as like a commoner. Like she has taken off her. Well, I guess she probably stopped by the playhouse and took off her fancy party dress.
Rosa
And
didn't
like
have much of a
tried
dress
to.
left.
What?
Rosa didn't have much of a dress left.
Yeah.
We can stitch it up, sweetheart. It'll be fine.
Yes, we'll do that. But maybe we get somewhat close,
You'd-
and then I
If
scout.
you'd like to scout ahead as we walk behind.
Yes, that will work.
All right.
And then he's gonna slip off between a couple buildings, and it is meow meow time.
It's morphin' time.
So the area, two things are clear. One is that the Inquisition knew where Honorine stayed, but not in which building particularly. Every single one of the homes that Waldo had have been broken into. You see the planters that he like took such pride in are like scattered across the ground. Doors are off the hinges. And having only been here a few times, you know that like if he could, Waldo would have repaired every single bit of damage and probably wouldn't have rested until he could. So there's no idea kind of really like where he is right now, but it's clear that all the other patrons have been driven off, and already there are like squatters that are kind of like eyeing this area to like move in. Everything's been ransacked. Every like wardrobe has been thrown open. Jewelry, just like anything the Inquisition thought that like might hold value or a clue has been seized.
Ugh. Well, Len's gonna scout around just to make sure, like, not just besides squatters, if anybody else seems to be hanging out anywhere nearby overly interested in the house and who goes to it, the houses and who goes to them.
You see there is like an old man who seems to be sort of like watching the area, and you actually remember him from the riot. Like he's a guard who's like well past retired in age. Does that make sense? Like silver hair, um like weathered face, multiple scars. And you see kind of like when somebody starts to like come into the area and look a little around it like too much, you see he kind of like steps forward and is like, "This isn't your place," you know.
Okay, so
He seems to just
he's guarding, basically. He's keeping
yeah,
an eye on the place against. Okay, then Len's
but
gonna
but it
go.
doesn't. But you're sure it's not on behalf of the Inquisition.
Yeah,
Does that make
no.
sense?
He was one of the old guys laying into the Inquisition and whatnot. One of the I'm retired, but I'm not that retired, you bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, then Len's gonna scout Honoring's house real quick because he remembers which one it is. He's gonna go in cat form, look around, and
Yeah.
She's coming not
The
far behind.
yeah. Yeah. So Henri, let me know what is kind of the most precious thing that she finds amongst everything. The thing that the Inquisition missed.
They didn't burn it, did they?
No, but they've kind of ransacked and tossed things to the ground. Like there's a level of destruction that was just malicious.
And the
Like we can't
bag
find you. We're pissed about it.
and the bag was left at Len's, right? Or
yeah. Last time I remember her having it, it was at Len's.
I think she left it at Len's.
Yeah.
Yep. Len's or Hans? That's where everybody was getting ready together.
Lens.
Len's.
Yep,
Yeah.
once.
The bro apartments.
I don't.
The bro apartment.
So I don't actually want to ask. So on her bedside table or in her room, maybe near like a jewelry box or something like that, she has her carving.
It is not touched. It's sitting on the dresser, and as she's kind of like comes closer, and like takes a look, there's her foot kind of nudges something that's like under one of the dressers. And it is a completely severed human arm.
Fun.
I'll
Cute.
get that for
Okay.
you. I will
From
take
like
care of that.
below the
Wait.
elbow down.
Is
And
it?
it looks like it's wearing like one of the Wakun's like sleeves.
Their gloves. Okay.
Yeah.
So if
There's
Len
no
went
spray
to,
of blood or anything.
if Len went to follow her when she's looking for this, she would have like been like, I need a minute.
Okay.
So,
I will turn around.
So like she's by herself in her room. I mean, I think she wouldn't have waved off Rosa, but I think that she doesn't know Len as well. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. No, that's
Would she
quite
have waved off Runa? You're allowed to say yes.
I think she would have been like, it would have been one of those things where she like kind of glanced at Runa and was like unsure about it, and like she's too focused to make a decision, so she doesn't wave her off, kind of thing.
Runa's gonna get rid of the arm for her.
Well, so you said there's no spray of blood, Siosa. Is it like cauterized?
It looks like the end of the arm, it looks like there's sap over it.
Oh.
Oh.
What happens when she touches the sap?
She knows the smell of it. She knows it's the sap that's from like the Black
gonna,
Forest.
like,
She
kinda
knows the
taste
smell
it.
of it. She also knows that like her family has learned enough about the Black Forest to know that like the scent of that stuff draws shadow creatures inside of the forest itself. It's been like weaponized by the Seeker family as they've like dared cut down a tree or two and then used from the sap from it and like thrown it at their enemies in battle. And like their enemies are like, what the hell? And then that night, just things come for them in the dark. Hans is over there like, that's badass.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
she's gonna kind of like, as Runa is like, hey, I'll get rid of that for you. She's like, hang on.
Okay.
And she is going to. Y'all are about to just think like things of honoring, but whatever. Anyway, she's gonna grab like, I don't know, like a perfume box or whatever, and like dump out the perfume, and like collect, like scratch the sap into the perfume box, which of course probably makes like congealed blood fall out of the arm. So she's like,
Yep, it's quickly a mess.
she's kind of making a bit of a mess, but like trying not to get it on her dress as she collects the bloodied sap from the stump of an arm of the thief that tried to take her carving from her.
Yep.
And then she picks up her carving and her perfume box and looks around at her ruined bedroom, and she's like, all right, let's go.
Do you want to stay at
Andre
my
kinda-
house as well?
Say
Andre
that
says,
again?
I have some beds available too.
Okay.
Thank you. Grazie.
She says, and my home is a bit further from Stone to Wyson.
Does she know where I live?
Well, she's just like assuming because literally her place is like across the map.
I live in the Drakenist.
That should be fairly safe too. She says, Bruisman, he runs the school down there. He's not exactly falling in step with Redmond about all of this. I was fully expecting me to dismissed from my position, and instead the lecture I got was about my sabbatical with very little notice.
Mm.
Well, it's not very good form to not give notice.
No.
And that was like clearly sarcasm, like kind of half to herself, like out of all of the ridiculous things that she has run into in the last couple of days, like that is on the ridiculous list.
Anji just kind of smiles and she says, in my defense, I did plead that I was hornswoggled by two very beautiful women.
That should be rather understanding for. That's a good reason.
She blushes.
Rosa, full confusion.
Runa just like pats her on the head.
I'll explain when you're older.
Anji just has a smile that suggests that she finds it adorable that Rosa still hasn't caught on.
For like the third time on her, and it's just like, I'll explain it when you're older.
I think it's so funny because she's younger.
Rosa was raised Strega. She's highly sheltered.
So Honorine is pissed. And so she starts working. As long as are we done here? Like, are we done here?
I would like to give everybody else like some moments, and then we can come back if she's got a plan that she's working on, because everybody's going to have some downtime to do. But this is sort of immediate aftermath stuff.
My bad.
Does that make sense?
My bad.
Oh, good. So, Gav had a lovely evening with Hannelore that he wrote some fan fiction about.
I meant to put it in I just put it in the cast chat, but I meant to put it in the regular chat. I'll do that.
I was fine with all of that being canon, by the way. So you can consider that. And I'm going to give you 2 bonus experience for it because it expands the world and, gives some background. And I also loved Hannelore being a ninja about catching books. That was just fun. Finesse 1, except if books are in danger. But you kind of, like, I imagine he's not straying too far from the Hall records while everything is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I think once the, sort of the world catches up to Gav and Hannelore, he realizes that it would be best if he kind of stuck around. just to keep her safe. He's assuming that he'd probably run into Wilma Probst at some point.
Yeah, Wilma, so you actually kind of like when you come back with a breakfast for Hannelore, who you don't think has eaten since like the night that you drew her and everything. Um, you find her like very hard at work, like kind of going through records, making what looks like some sort of like master list of something. She's got stacks of records that are like addresses and locations, and just seems to be like flipping through books, scrolling things down. Um, and she just sort of like looks up at like the breakfast and she's like, right, food, thank you.
Look like you're
And
about to
she
fall over.
she just like she says, Wilma asked me to do something. And she just sort of like she runs over to like the stack of books and she picks up like one of the step stools she uses for the top ladders and then runs with it back towards Gav and goes to the top of it and pecks him on the cheek and then runs back down to the table.
That's adorable. Gav just kind of smiles and does, basically sticks around and helps her with whatever she needs,
Um, she's like, she says, I know you can't read yet. She says, but if I taught you a pattern, you can draw, so you'd be able to recognize that pattern, right?
Duh.
And she kind of like spreads out a piece of parchment. She says, this is Redmond Earhart. It's how you spell his name. She says, I'm pulling all of these records here that have his name on them. And then they have a blank in this part of the record.
He's looking, he's trying to recognize the shapes,
Mhm.
basically, like where it would be on the sheet or on the piece of parchment.
Yeah. And she kind of like, this is an R, this is an E, this is, and kind of like walks him through it. And she's kind of like squeezed up against his side as she does it. And she walks him through a few of them. And he just, and like, as he kind of like finds them, she's scrawling them down.
He's doing his very best. He's not fast at it, but he's trying.
Yeah. And she's kind of like finger food eating, like just absently in a way that suggests that like she probably at one point had training in like proper manners, you know what I'm saying? But like she reads and eats and just doesn't really think about it. Like she's absorbed in what she's doing. Her focus is very kind of total. Um, and it's like a few hours later that Wilma arrives. Um, and the Hannelore kind of turns and she says like, I think I have the list finished or almost finished. And Wilma just holds up a hand. She's like, whatever you have is going to be more than enough for us to work with. Um, and she kind of smiles to see Gav there. Like it's a very like, oh, that worked out kind of smile that she doesn't want to like she doesn't want to presume too much, you know what I'm saying? But like she's like happy to see them there together. Does that make sense?
How have you been holding up, Frau Probst?
She says, I'm
Very
getting
busy
used to
morning.
having an honor guard, but I made them stay outside. Um, and she kind of, she like leans against the table and she starts to like look over the list and she whistles. She's like, all of these. And Hannelore just nods. Um, and Wilma kind of like blows out her breath. Um, she's very clearly like weighing something.
Gav kind of like he's obviously waiting for her to say something, but what he's doing right now is he's kind of busying himself with cleaning up
Yeah.
just the things that aren't needed anymore, piles of books that have been placed aside.
Yeah.
He's doing his best to look busy.
She kind of says, Gav, do you have a minute?
What is the problem?
She says, this list, and like the scroll is like furl multiple pages long,
Mhm.
right? That Hannelore has written out. She says there's a list of every home and business that Redmond Earhart owns and doesn't rent out.
That is a long list.
Says he has a policy of that if he doesn't get the amount of money that he thinks he deserves, he lets it go empty. And there's just like, Gav has seen like the despair outside of the city, the walls of like tents, and realizing that there's this much property.
Why are so many people without homes? If he is not using them, he does not need them.
She says, I agree. She says, but I think if this list is released right now, there's a good chance that the angry mob is just as likely to burn them to the ground.
That is one solution, but is best solution?
I don't think it's the best solution, but mobs are not necessarily known for their long-term thinking.
No.
And a lot of people who struggled under his rents and his costs may not act in the best interest of the city in the long term.
He's going to lose lots of money over this.
Hannelore kind of says, technically, no one owns the land in Freeburg. They own the property that's built on something.
Hannelore and Wilma see the gears grinding. And then Gav just kind of laughs. He's like, so if buildings are burned to ground, then he has no place.
She says,
No
then
place.
the land, I think, would technically have to be leased again from the Iron Prince that we don't have.
That is no problem.
She says, or we do. She says, depending on whether Logan Seeger's claim is respected or not. Wilma kind of like, is there documentation of that? Did he put something into the Hall of Records about an heir? She's like, yes. Says Nicholas Drog only claimed 2 pieces of property within the city, the Wachtturm itself, and City Hall, both of which by his will are transferred to Logan Seeger.
So all of this complaining about no Iron Prince is for nothing? Do we have an Iron Prince?
She says, hey, it's complicated. She says, by law, the title passes to Trog's children, but Trog doesn't have any. She says, and Logan Seeger is the disowned child of Iron Prince Seeger.
Who
is the current Iron Prince in the south of Eisen. I'm going to go to the map of Eisen real quick. Sorry.
So Fischler?
No, Seeger, down at the bottom.
Oh, down at the bottom. So then, like, politics goes way over Gav's head. He's basically asking Wilma to explain this to him. He doesn't understand.
Yeah. She says, every tradition that Eisen has about inheritance comes down to familial inheritance. It says, always to a firstborn son, only to a firstborn daughter if no sons exist. Since those traditions have been around long enough to, if not be law, be a tradition powerful enough to be respected as law. Says Trog is unique in that he was granted his Iron Princeship within our lifetimes before the Imperator committed suicide. There's no Imperator, which means no new Iron Princes can be granted. And because it passes from Trog to Seeger, it would be seen as constituting a new Iron Princedom, and thus not recognized. But it's also Trog's will, and wills are normally recognized.
So Herr Seeger is both Iron Prince and not Iron Prince because wrong people, or there is no one to stamp the piece of paper.
She says, at
With
the end of the
seal.
day, someone is really only the Iron Prince because they're supported. In his own way, Trog had support. People liked the lack of rules.
He kind of like leans in close, like, do we support this man?
Says, Logan?
Da.
She says, Logan is being controlled by Redman Earhart right now. No one's seen him outside of his palace.
We do not trust this man.
She says, I spent many years as a friend to Logan, but he is not a strong-willed man.
And those weak of will are easy to control. He kind of shrugs like, up until a few weeks ago, I was just a man who hits things for money. This is very, very confusing.
She kind of squeezes Gab's arm. She's like, still, I'm glad you're here.
On bright side, the Verslinken is dealt with in the sewers, as you can kind of tell.
She says, have you seen the tree from the top of the tower?
Could you?
She says, you should look.
We watched it come out of the sewer.
She says, maybe take Hannelore with you. She's like, probably got the scroll.
Gav just like blushes and sees that Hannelore is busy, and he shows her the sketch that he did of Hannelore and the tree from across the river on top of the dude's house.
She just smiles and she kind of like squeezes Gab's forearm. She's like, I'm gonna have Zucker pack you a picnic.
Apparently, rooftops are very good places to paint. I learned from the best.
She says you have a very good teacher. And I'm gonna cut from there over to Hans.
Oh shit. Help.
Hans is like, holy shit, there's a lot of things to do when you're in charge. Like when you're a lieutenant in the army, there's a lot to do that was like what your boss told you to do.
It's very much just like, hey, yeah, higher up said do this, do it or I'm gonna be angry, I guess. I don't know.
But Vasya is like, I have my hands full.
He's just like, yeah, I'm too busy to tell you what to do.
Out. So I have 3 roles for you to make. They are roles that you can make with a skill that you can persuade me of or with your commander skill. And each of them is representing one of the red dots that we have going on right now.
Shit, we're doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
In Minor Hard.
Father help!
He's doing this on like maybe 10 hours sleep cumulative for the week. Right.
So we have the dot for wealth, the dot for security and safety, and the dot for criminal influence. All right. Okay. So this is going to, so I would like you to tell me your approach to each of these, and I'm going to determine an appropriate attribute based upon that.
Oh, okay. I mean, criminal influence, I feel like I could personally see him trying to root out some of the like small time, like the petty thieves and stuff and be like, hey, you know, if you want to not go to jail and still get money, you can just come help me protect the district. type of thing, and then I don't know, however many people he's amassed to try and take out some of the larger criminal threats.
And you have you have the strategist knack. Do you have anything do you have criminal as well?
I have, yeah, I've got strategist, criminal, and enforcer, all at 2.
Okay. Um, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 free raises because you have 2 relevant skills that are kind of good at utilizing the breadth of your skills to focus on
Nice.
this. Does that make sense? You have some understanding of how the criminal element works. You have some understanding of how the guards think, and you also have like the sort of military mindset of like, let's divide and conquer, let's,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So go ahead. It is going to be wits because you're still kind of using your brain over anything
Yeah.
else. Go ahead.
Okay. So that is wits and just one of those skills?
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
But 2 free raises, so plus 10. And
Nice.
sorry, and this is you're tackling the criminal influence first, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is for criminal influence.
Okay.
That's 21.
Okay. And with the plus 10, that gets it up to a 30, which was the target number to get
Let's
the criminal influence of
go.
30. So what's going to happen is that 3 is going to retreat back down to a 2. And during the
Nice.
course of this kind of downtime, what you find out is that like there's an active criminal element that is organized, this in and amongst this stuff, that is seeing the opportunity and trying to move on it. And when you kind of isolate, like you get a couple of the street kids and like Gav's boys and stuff like that, like relaying through Gav, like, hey, we can't talk to you directly, but
Yeah.
talk to Gav. We got something we need to tell him.
Yeah.
Like it goes like that. Does that make sense? And they just kind of like drop some names and some locations, and you kind of find out there's a gang called the Mad Wolves that was like knocked down and almost out in Finer Hard before, and is trying to make a comeback. And they were basically ousted by Adrian.
Ooh.
Um,
Hmm.
so uh, and they're like diehard fuck all cops basically.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
like so even the guards who like you are not quite yet sure of their motives, do you know what I mean? Like they're like, no, those guys are gonna fucking shiv me and cut my throat, hang me from a
Yeah.
bridge. Like just as a matter of principle. So yeah, we're gonna go after them. So uh they get like knocked back out. Some of their leadership gets taken out. There's street fighting and stuff like that. And there's also a lot more kind of like when people see that that's the first thing that you take care of, word spreads about it. Does that make sense?
All
For
right.
successfully resolving that, you're going to gain another 5 points of reputation.
Jesus Christ.
So, we're gonna.
I feel
So
like
that
this is
is
going to
going
go
to
badly
push.
at some point.
So that
Only
is going to
having
push the
that much is-
security and safety and wealth rolls. They're only going to be 20s.
Oh, nice. Okay. That makes me feel a bit better about that.
And these are ones that are in decline. You're basically getting it back to a wealth of 2 if you succeed, and back to security and safety. And if you fail these rolls, it becomes a permanent loss.
Oh, okay.
Do good.
I mean, safety and security next, I'd say.
Okay.
I mean, I guess since I have, would there be any like different skills applicable for that? Because I think I just have all 3 that I would probably need
I
in
think
this case.
enforcer is going to be just the appropriate one. So
Okay.
I'm not going to give you any free raises on this.
Okay.
And these are target numbers 20 because they're lower.
Target of 20. Gotcha. All right. Ah, shit.
Okay.
15.
Okay, so the security and safety is diminishing. There's chaos all over the city. It's bleeding over. There's only so much you can do to control it. Okay, so last is the wealth.
Mm-hmm. Oh. What would we do? What would we even do for this? I mean, maybe try to get a couple.
You can ask to call in help if you want. Like you can see if any of the other people in your group are up for some assistance in that.
Yeah. maybe just kind of put word out of like, hey, if we can try and get a bit more business back into here or something like that, even like a couple small vendors, just so that
Business. You know who
there's
just lost their
stuff.
store?
That's true. That's a good point. Hey, maybe it's time to call in Rosa and see if she wants to set up a new shop.
The question would be if the shop has like a house with it.
Oh yeah,
That's how she does it.
That's surely doable.
Yeah, then she'd be down. She'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean protection and obviously a very heavily planned out cover for this place, given what's been going on.
Yeah.
I think that's manageable. I guess strategist would be the main for that one.
Yeah,
just in terms of like the management aspects.
Yep. So I will here's what I'm going to allow. Rosa, I'm going to let you, what is your current coin strand at?
3.
Okay. So I'm going to let you make a resolve in coins roll, and you're going to, for every 15 that you get on it, you're going to give Hans a free raise on this. As you kind of like go through town, like finding out who's having trouble with their businesses, who's like basically where the bad blood is. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
like business relationships are fraying and stuff like that, and sort of like rebuilding them.
34, I exploded
Ooh,
twice on 1 die.
did you really?
Yeah.
But this is a viewing roll. This is a viewing roll. It's not a. Yeah, I don't penalize the looking because
Ooh, that was scary. No, thank you.
but really that you got some explodey dice.
That's crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Okay.
I have a history for it.
So Hans is gonna get to.
We can't hear you at all, Bison.
I was going to say Roll20 loves Sarah as a player, hates Sarah as a GM.
Which is really beneficial to her players.
Oh, it's always beneficial to my players.
All right. So that is going to give you 2 free raises. Go ahead and make your roll. Target number 20 to.
Nice. All right. So that puts it at 38, I think. Yeah. It's
Okay.
18 plus the raises is plus 10, not plus 20. Jesus Christ. So it puts it at 28.
Okay. So yeah, it's saved. Like the only thing that is going down in all of the, well, you had the criminal, which was going up, go back down. The wealth is sort of preserved. The security is like tight at the moment. Like you've kind of taken a lot of the people who were working privately as guards and like recruited them into the guard force, but that also means that there aren't people necessarily hanging out at like different businesses and stuff like that. But you've managed also to keep the relative sort of level of investment in the guards secure. Does that make sense? Like the guards that are there now, they're going to be guaranteed some regular stipends and stuff like that, and they aren't going to have to rely so heavily on kind of shaking people down as Adrian's were.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Nice.
And that in and of itself might be some of like the security failure too, because there was an established way of doing business that is now no longer the way of doing business.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. So I did a thing and my lack of organization in my brain is kicking my ass right now. I got a name for an NPC. I don't remember where I put it.
Is it
Sam
an
Smirkle.
NPC that we have
Yeah,
heard of before?
Yeah, but I didn't give her a name in that specific thing. So it's as Hans is kind of like winding down from like just a real crazy week, that the proprietress of the brothel that spoke out against Adrian kind of like appears in his guard shop.
Guten Tag. What can I do for you?
She kind of smiles. She says, I wanted to see how things were going. I know the last week has been stressful.
No kidding. I, we've got a decent handle on some things. I'm sure you heard about the busted up some of that gang that was trying to make a resurgence. That's honestly the biggest win I think I've had this week, is getting rid of some of their more higher ranking.
I did hear about it. And she says Adrian's men were fond of taking part of their pay from the leaky jugs. That's the brothel. She kind of like, I know, but we're right next to the clay vessels and all of the ceramics.
Huh?
I know.
I mean, it is just not my place to judge.
She says we were right next to the slaughterhouse, and it was a narrow margin that it was not the meatpacking union.
I mean, we can at least be thankful for that, I suppose.
she just kind of like laughs. But she like rounds the desk and she kind of sits on his lap. She says the men before, she says, were often paid with the services of the women at the leaky jugs, but that arrangement grew violent.
As I can imagine. I mean, I'm certain there's probably a few men in there within the new guard that would not say no to something like that, but I can definitely arrange for more safety for any of the for anyone engaging in
And she studies his face and she says, do I need to arrange for a discount for yourself as well?
I if I ever were to drop by, I would be more than happy to, pay full price and whatnot. To be honest, I don't see myself doing much aside from managing this place for quite a while. It is going to be it is a generous offer, to be sure, but I mean, there's much work to be done.
She nods and she kind of like, I would be happy if you were down there enough that you would recognize the faces of the girls who work there. She says, so often when a body washes up here in the city, it's of somebody who works in the field that I do. She says, Jenny's and brothel workers. She says, even if you're not there to partake of services, we'd appreciate if you would know who we are, so that we were not simply a faceless service.
Of course. I can make some adjustments to my personal patrol route.
She kind of smiles and she does like kind of like run some fingers through his hair. It's like sort of flirtatious, but it's also just like she smiles to herself and she says, you're going to drive some of them wild.
I mean, at least Gertrude isn't here, so that won't be quite as much of a bother as it otherwise could be. But yeah, of course, I can ensure both additional protection and a bit more of a proper presence. It is inhumane, the things that happen to the people in your line of work, and I mean, I know that an apology from me cannot bring back the people who have been wrongfully taken from us, but I am truly sorry on behalf of my awful predecessors who did not have the sense nor the respect to treat you all with the
She's just smiling. She's just smiling as he continues to talk. You know what I'm saying? There's kind of like a little like squeeze of his shoulders as if she's kind of testing if she's making him nervous.
He probably blushes a bit and also is just like, he's got like insane raccoon eyes. Like he looks like damn near a corpse, probably.
She's like, how long has it been since you slept?
I mean, it's only been a few hours, but I tend to sleep rather fitfully and for short periods. So, I mean, it kind of balances out to be to be pretty shit overall.
She just sort of like leans in and she whispers in his ear. She says, "Would you like me to exhaust you?"
Well, this is
Arthur approves.
Some girls love a guy in uniform.
Yep.
I've had a thing planned, and I think this might be where I'm gonna drop this. He smiles, and it is a kind offer, but forgive me if this comes off as disrespectful, but I'm quite sleep deprived. I'm there's a I'll just say you may not be my exact type.
She says, "I see no disrespect in it." She kind of smiles and she says, "What I do see is a man who does not take advantage of the perks of his position."
I
She
mean,
says, "And I will make sure the people who find hard know that."
comes with the years of service,
Um,
and there's no reason to treat anyone differently. Only people that deserve, the only ones that deserve the potentially different treatment are going to be the people up in the stone.
She smiles and she says, "Truly though," she says, "you do look exhausted, and one of my girls has hands of stone that can crack every bone in your back and muscle in your shoulders."
If
You can keep your clothes on the entire time.
that is something I would much appreciate. But as stiff as that goddamn bridge of bones at this point.
She says, "I will let her know to go hard on you." And
That's what she said. Intended.
She totally winks after she says it, but it's clearly just banter at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And she rises. She says, "I understood you were looking for an empty shop and a home for someone."
Indeed, yes. There's a member of a troop I'm a part of who has recently fallen on some ill will with fallen on some ill will with a particular caste of the city, and would be greatly appreciative of business, a place to start up business again, and just to try and live a more normal life.
She says, "If she does not mind Jenny's for neighbors, I can promise that there is a lot of foot traffic in our part of town."
That's probably all the better for business, honestly.
She says, "I know a place and I'd be happy to make a recommendation."
Wunderbar. That's Dankeschön. This is thank you.
She says, "Get some rest, Captain."
Indeed, it is. I must. He just kind of like trails off and like almost falls asleep immediately in the chair. Just like I can't be bothered to get up.
And the smile on her face as she's leaving is like sort of a genuine affection. So, all right. So moving to Arthur. So when the riots came to town, came to the Stone Device and like roused him from his sleep, what was his response during a lot of that?
That's actually. He's used to chaos. Like the absolute insanity that is his life is one thing, and just suddenly being woken up by sounds of rioting is more annoying to him than it is fearful or anything like that. It's more, I woke up, I was having the loveliest dream with the loveliest group of co-eds, and now I have to deal with this nonsense.
Um, the rioters were clearly coming after everybody sort of like of wealth staying at the tavern and also seeking to burn the tavern itself down. It wasn't the only place that they went after. Um, they're Rosa's just cheering for places being burned down and riots. uh,
I also
Arthur
approve
would
this
love-
message.
um, so like what is he doing? Like the people who are wealthy there are his patrons in a lot of ways. They're the ones who come to like watch him fight. The tavern itself has also been the one that like has the deal with him, but like they are also clearly poor and desperate peasants who just have their anger boil over.
Arthur hasn't spent any of the money he's been given.
Okay.
Because he doesn't. He genuinely doesn't really need it. He's very simple, and he's a knight of Elaine, so most of his fees are handled for him. So he goes. One of the things that he literally does, because he's hoping that he sees an easy answer to this. And he's just going to pay the mob off.
I will let you make a wits roll if you're trying to do that, but bear in mind it's in the middle of a riot. Does that make sense? So the target number is going to be very high.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not gonna get that with 2 wits.
it's just like it's a matter of persuasion, and like they're there to take whatever's not nailed down anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, um,
But I think Arthur's more just trying to say, leave the building alone. I don't care what you do to the people as much. Rich people are the
I mean,
worst.
they're
Let's be
trying to
honest.
drag like noble women out of their rooms and out into the street and
Never mind, he's had a problem now.
it's like I just have to be clear, it's not like it's just old white men who laugh at the misery of peasants.
No, I get it.
That makes
yeah.
sense.
He basically then it's gonna be a different thing. Arthur's going to pay off those he can, and he's going to beat the shit out of anyone else.
You can either take this money or I will feed it to you.
Look,
So
you can
what
either
I'm
take
going
the
to-
money or I will make you need to go and see a dentist very soon.
So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you make a resolve roll with you can make a case to me for whatever skill you want as like a backup to it, but you're doing intimidation now as opposed to reasoning with them, which is
he's going to be
definitely
doing.
something you can do with a mob.
I think Enforcer works for this a bit as spy master.
Absolutely.
He's got
I will
dirt
absolutely allow
on everyone.
I'm not going to allow the spy master because these are people that he probably would never have chosen to go after.
Never
Like
mind.
you,
But
you-
he
do you know
does
what I
have
mean?
enforcer.
Like, they don't
He's
have-
got enforcer level 3, which turns into spy master.
And basically, I'm saying is that like so the spy master would give you a free raise if it was spy master appropriate. You're still
never
getting
mind
the
then.
full
I'm
benefits of your
perfectly happy for
enforcer,
full enforcer.
just not the spy master part because like you don't know them in a mob.
I get that.
They're a mob. So, but you'll get your resolve, you'll get your full enforcer, and you can go ahead and roll that for me now.
Okay.
By the way, I don't know if I've been doing it, but anybody who has bought a skill to a 3, you get a free like focus. You get that free specialty. It doesn't count for sorcery knacks, but like I think somebody said they bought their defense to a 3, you get to choose a focus for it.
And I'm just double checking because it's a enforcer resolve roll.
keep your resolve.
Yeah, so it's roll 3, keep 2.
No,
Yeah,
you add them together.
roll 5,
you're-
keep 2. That's much better.
yes.
27.
Okay. So yeah, there's a point where you just kind of like you see one of the noble women that's kind of like being like dragged, and she's like 17. She just came out for a good time into like a tavern and stuff like that. And it's just like, if you were just trying to like, if they were just trying to like take the purse off of her and run or grab some jewelry, it might have been different. But like, you have no idea what their intentions is. But you could tell
No.
that they are acting on nothing but rage and likely regrets that they're going to have later. You get what I'm saying? Um, the and it just becomes a matter of kind of like finding a door and like no one gets past you. In other parts of the tavern, things break in, fires start, etc. But there is definitely you have also in the minds of some of the people of Freeburg like picked a side. Whoop. Oh, there goes my camera. All right. At least I caught it as it was happening this time. Um, so the tavern owner is, like very grateful for your assistance. He throws in a 10 guilder bonus. But like he also shutters the doors to the tavern. Nobody's coming to drink and watching fights at the moment. Like when all you have to do is go outside. Like, oh, there's a street corner with like a 20-man brawl. Okay. But he does because of like the way you stepped up and stuff like that, he's happy to like have you stay there. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Um, and word quickly spreads amongst some of the other nobles of like, oh, like these mobs over there have like besieged my business. Would you mind running them off?
Ar- Arthur will ask what the business is.
Oh yeah, and like there's a whole variety of things. But this is like the wealthy district. You know what I'm saying? So they're everything from like art galleries to cigar smoking shops to like tea houses. The coffee place is besieged.
Look, mate, when your cigar place burns down, it's going to make a lovely smell for everyone. I don't really give a shit.
Um, so and is that gonna take that as he's mostly kind of like turning them down? They're
It's
like
mostly turning them
luxuries.
down because it's not. Yeah, it's gonna suck for these people, but I don't want to go and save the local Abercrombie and Fitch.
Um, the it is
Arthur
around like
is like Arthur will go around and help people that are being dragged in the streets, being murdered or worse. But for the most part, he's leaving it alone. He doesn't know why
yeah.
these riots started. He doesn't know
And
the cause of everything. And it's just the thing he cares about is just keeping people safe that he recognizes as well enough as like especially the people that just went out wanted to have a nice time tonight or anything like that
so what I'd
as
like
opposed
is
to the
I'd
people
like
that are personally profiting off the suffering of these people.
I'm going to give you your spy master on this, and I would like you to make another enforcer roll, this time with your wits, as just sort of like a general, like putting together what has led to this point. Because Arthur has been kind of busy getting his head punched in, and when he's not
Yeah,
doing that, consoling himself with either, alcohol or women. So,
yeah. So it's because it's wits and spy math. It raises, you said, right?
yeah, it raise gives you a +5.
Okay, so it'll be whatever five keep two plus five.
Yep.
25.
Okay. So the what's going on is that the Philosopher's Stone is the home of like the wealthiest people in the city, and the most wealthy man in the city, Redmond Earhart, has thrown in with Archbishop Rosencreuz, who's the head of the Inquisition in the city, and Kelby Loring, who is the head of the largest mercenary organization. They are propping up the uh, disinherited son of a distant Iron Prince, to claim that like the entire city should be theirs to rule, and by force they're making their way into the Flucifer district and trying to claim it. It's like a slow roll military campaign. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And an attempt to seize power. Um, the people who are like pushing back are literally fighting for their homes. Does that make sense? They're literally fighting against what they view as an inquisition that's willing to put them to the torch, as it literally tried to do days ago, and like claim their homes by force after years of paying overpaid rates to like renters and stuff like that to Redmond Earhart.
Yeah.
There are many
Arthur's-
nobles here who are just sort of bystanders in this man's power play, who are just sort of like they're not like actively malicious or anything like that. They're just the de facto sort of like power base that isn't strong-willed enough to be like, this is kind of fucked up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Arthur is strong-willed enough to say this is kind of fucked up. And it's a bit of a tricky situation because it's one of those, he doesn't want to let innocent people just be murdered for no reason. But he also understands that the wealthy and the upper class tend to have a very negative impact on the society as a whole.
And he has seen better examples in Avalon. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Queen Elaine is the most powerful person in Avalon, but she also is very intolerant of nobles who are themselves cruel and excessive. This man, Redmond Earhart, like he would be stripped of his title in Elaine's Avalon.
Yeah. So Arthur, weirdly enough, is going to find the people that he agreed to help at some point and go, so how do we go and kick this guy's ass? Because this guy seems like a complete and total tool. And I have other words to say, but
the place he knows to meet them is at the Playhouse. And I kind of imagine with like Arthur showing up, it isn't too long before like Veronica will send some little runners to like go to the places where she know Honorine and Rosa and Gav and Runa and Hans and Len are all staying. And like, hey, your friend Arthur's here and he's hoping to talk to everybody.
Grazie.
Yeah. Bring money in. Imagine he
when
was
Gav's not sleeping on a couch in the Hall of Records.
Yeah.
Honolor gives Gav, by the way, a copy of like the record of all of Redmond Earhart's properties. Like she gave one to Wilma also, and Wilma's still kind of weighing what to do with it, but
yeah. So yeah, when he gets word that, it's trouble has come back to Freiburg, he makes his way to the bear house.
As Rosa will as well.
Yeah, Len will head that way as well.
So, and I also kind of want to. So, I think Honorine had been talking about doing some stuff with the Playhouse as well. You still wanted to go through with that?
Yes.
All right. So, Honorine is probably there, maybe working with some of the musicians and whatnot that are already there. Alejandra is happy to help with like plotting out like an actual opera and stuff like that. Has the musical talent for it. Although she's happy to lean on Honorine for the actual like satirical reputation destroying bits.
Fun parts.
So what is happening is that they are in the midst of concocting a reputation lowering play, like the striptease / opera that is the Bear House puts out. Anybody who wants to be involved, anybody who wants to be involved in this project can tell me how they're contributing if they are, like what they're good at.
Lucas sorry, that's the wrong person. That is definitely the wrong person. I have been thinking things, yeah. Arthur can only help with footwork, and that's literally dodging people. It's not great for dancing. He's not. He's got footwork, but that's wrong kind of footwork.
Len has his some of his spy training, which could help with good ways to smear.
Was cracked into my
And
desk.
he has performance, not a lot of it, but enough not to embarrass himself, so he can dance or sing if needed until they can find the lead.
Rosa also has performer. And so she can
Arthur can
sing
just bring
a part
people
that
to
does
the
not strip.
I feel Runa could really only be another pretty face.
Gav is going to hold court with the child gangs of Freiburg and get as much dirt as he can. Because
All right.
kids get ignored. And they
Actually, I just-
hear everything.
So here's what I want.
Arthur can actually do a bit of what Gav's doing as well with a little help, but not too much, not the same way. Because his
Runa could do
spy
that with the Jennies.
but
Sora.
also
Sora,
Arthur can literally just
probably.
go, "Hey, we have first drinks free. Come on to the playhouse and listen to this terrible reputation lowering play."
So I'm going to divide this into like basically 3 phases. I want an information gathering phase, and like this is going to be a cumulative role that everybody who's participating in the information gathering gets to add to, but they don't get to participate in a different later phase. So if you want to be part of the information gathering, your roles are going to collectively add up and give a bonus to Honorine when she rolls for the final play production.
Cool.
I think that's
So-
probably the only place Gav can really help.
Since you have specifically an ally who's good at this sort of thing, you're getting a free raise on it. Gav, Arthur, you're just making your spy master roll. I will give you your spy master because that's kind of what spy mastering is all about. Len, I believe you also have like a criminal knack that you're using, or you want to be in the performance phase.
He's going to be in the performance phase.
Okay. He's helping with the blocking.
He's helping with the blocking and maybe stripping. Who knows? He's already shown his ass to artists, and there are statues for it. So,
Arthur
I'm
knows
going
what
to
he's
say
doing
that,
too.
that Hans is busy enough during all of this that he can't really participate. He has a whole. It's the downsides of all that responsibility.
The whole thing.
Len will take breaks from that to visit Hans with food and to possibly put him in a chokehold until he sleeps.
Real friends.
Yep.
Like, no, I need to do one more. Nope, nope. Shh, shh, it's nap time. It's nap time.
Go to sleep.
Sweet
Don't argue
prince.
with Bear.
Okay. So who is rolling the information gathering? It's Gav and Arthur? And Runa? You're participating in the information gathering?
I don't know where else she'd be useful.
I
To
will
be
let your
honest.
crafts also be useful as like helping to actually do the stage building. If you want to
Oh!
be participated in that side.
Because I have a 3-point ally who can help me get information.
Oh, and I've defined that those allies, they are allowed to be a separate role. So I will allow them both to participate. So you can go ahead and make an information gathering role for her. She'll be
Okay.
6K3.
Okay.
I'll take it. So criminal keep wits.
32.
Sorry.
Okay. 32 plus so it's gonna be your wits plus whatever skill you're rolling.
Okay. And I get a free raise.
And I gave Gav a free raise because his group is specifically good at this.
Maybe I should actually put all the dice in the tower.
36.
So 36 plus 32. Jesus Christ.
21.
Okay. Somebody do that math for me.
No.
Okay.
How many raises does he get?
60.
36 plus 32 plus 21 plus 5, right? Because you didn't include your plus 5.
I included
didn't
my
include
plus
your-
5.
Okay.
Oh, you
Okay.
included
So
plus
just
5.
36 plus 32 plus 21 was the last one?
Yep. 60.
89.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. So 89 is going to be 8 free raises on the final construction.
Guys, we're doing it.
Okay.
Jeez.
Tony
So-
Awards,
Working
here
as
we
a
So-
come.
team.
So tier 2 is now going to be composition, like taking what you have, you know, like and putting it into bars. You know what I'm saying? Making it so snappy and it catches, and it's going to be something that people are humming as they walk down the street, kind of thing. Um, it's during that phase as like Honorine and I don't, I think Rosa probably sitting with Alejandra, um, that Wilhelm Kurtz enters their house. He's had his hair like shaved down. You know what I'm saying? He's clearly like he's still walking like a man who's beaten within an inch of his life. Um,
Yeah, Rosa's gonna the minute
and
he enters. Are you what's happened to you?
he says, "The my patron has decided he is no longer to be my sponsor, and Archbishop Rosencruz believed that I was in league with witches."
That is ridiculous. Yeah, Rosencruz is a monster.
I know. It's like there's something very like harrowed in the way he says it. He says, "I understand you have a resistance happening here."
See, we do. Would
Says,
you
and
like to
by
join?
he says, "If you had asked me 2 weeks ago if there was any circumstance that would convince me to contribute my musical talents to this place, I would have laughed in your face." He says, "Right now, I would like to help you write the music, and I would like to help play in the orchestral pit, if you will have me."
Grazie. Absolutely, signore.
He says, "That man," he says, "believes music comes from Legion." He says, "I will teach him that Legion is coming for him."
See, he is. Or I should say she is.
He kind of chuckles. Um, "Do you have a padded seat?"
See. And she like leads him over.
Yeah, and he's
And
like he sinks into it like painfully. Like you can tell like whatever's happened, he's in bad shape. Like um and so doing the composition roll, I would like somebody to roll for Wilhelm Kurtz because he's going to assist with the actual musical part of it.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Poor guy. Dude is definitely getting free shots all night.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
But first, Len is
Who
going to brew him
wants to
some
roll for
Willibard
him?
tea.
Actually, I'll have Hans roll for him since he's not doing anything
I
else.
was just gonna say I'm
Roll,
afraid
Yeah.
to.
Fair enough.
Yeah, me too.
roll,
I am
roll
too.
10K5 for his composition.
Holy
Ooh.
shit.
All right.
Whoa.
And
Let's
he
see.
has the advanced specialty in it as well as the advanced specialty in the actual playing of music. So well, the
Jeez.
violin specifically. So he gets a +10 to that roll.
Damn. Okay.
I forgot about
So-
his 10K5.
So he gets 56.
He got what?
That's 56 total.
56.
Okay. Who else is helping with the composition?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
Rosa, Len, and Honoring.
I think
Okay.
Honorine is helping with the whole thing. I
I
don't
know
know if
Runa's
I'm
doing set.
I don't know if
That'll
I'm
be
That's going to be so I'll have Runa help with the actual performance because that's kind of like a late stage thing.
Am I
so-
rolling throughout this or am I waiting till the end to do it?
You're going to be waiting to the end. You're going to be the one kind of like master performing it. Does that make sense? So like the final success is going to be your role because it was your idea.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
pressure.
No pressure, you got this.
So that's performance
Oh.
plus
I'm the strong
finesse,
one.
wits,
I'm not nervous.
panache.
It is going to be panache at this stage actually. Because this is about style. You know what I'm saying? This is about turning into catchy and
23.
Ooh,
okay.
11.
Okay. Yeah, like you're doing some of the blocking with Veronica and stuff like that, Len, and you know she keeps like okay, now we take off our shirts. Not yet. Okay, fine. Now,
That would be a total of about 90. Yeah.
So that's going to be 56 plus 23 plus 11.
Yeah, which should be about 90.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly 90. That is going to be another 9 free raises.
Oh.
Okay.
So we have 17 raises.
Yes. So the final thing is the performance that comes at the end of the week. Does that make sense? And the list that Gav has, I want to ask now, are you willing to turn it over as part of the performance so they can sort of name off all of these places that Redmond Earhart is holding?
Yeah.
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 Let's go.
Burn them down.
The empty
Burn them
king,
down.
the empty king of Freiburg.
Okay. So, also, I would
There's-
like to know, Honoree, are you calling in Aunt Jemay, or is she proving it to herself by doing it herself?
Oh.
When it comes down back to the actual like clapbacks and whatnot, there's no wrong answer.
So Honorine has written a letter to Aunt Jemay that everything is totally fine and nothing is her fault. Just FYI. So she is not going to Jemay for any of the clapbacks because nothing is wrong. And Honorine had nothing to do with it, even if something is wrong.
Yeah, the letter she gets back is like, so long as I have known you, there has never been a day which passes with such peace and good tidings as the one that you have described to me.
It seems that it's a new beginning for both of us.
I would prefer you disclose some element of the trouble that you are most certainly not involved in, so I can gauge whether an emergency extraction from the city of Freiburg is necessary or if you are under duress.
It's just a
Blink
yay long
twice.
letter that summarizes to yeah, bullshit.
Honorine's reply is like, this is fine, it's fine, we're all fine here. How are you?
Okay, so
This is a
she's
boring
not calling on
conversation
Aunt
anyway.
Jemay.
No.
Okay, cool.
Pew, pew.
Okay, so
I'm
Um,
hilarious. What am I rolling?
I have 2 questions. So you're going to be rolling. Do you have the performer skill? Do you have any skill that you would constitute as like leadership, such that would work for being a director? I'm good with defaulting to noble if that's like the only thing that you have.
Like nothing specific, but I'm very good at bossing people around. No.
Excuse me. So there is. Oh shit. There is artist, which I previously had meant to buy up, but like I don't know if I can yet. So I'm looking at the one now, going
I'm
like,
good with you.
How
I'm
much
fine
does it
with that
cost
being
me to
bought
get
up, but
to
I
two?
don't think it's appropriate in the circumstance because
Oh.
artist tends to be more of like a solo creation, active creation.
Okay, well, note to self, buying that up.
It would be 8 points to buy up to 2.
Anyway, yes, noble is probably the closest. I don't think scholar or commoner would help, and they're all the same anyway.
Okay, so let's go with noble. I'm going to let you roll your panache on this because this is all style. Now, here is a question that I have that I'm not going to really reveal the reasons that I'm asking this. When you buy the noble advantage, you traditionally get a benefit that is derived from your family. Would you like to have the Lorenzo benefit, or would you like to have the size to size benefit?
The Lorenzo is the heritage where she got her magic from, right?
The Lorenzo heritage is specifically sort of like it has some benefits related to like when your reputation goes hard bad. The size to size one is specifically about social interactions and gives you a benefit there.
Did we? I think when we were deciding it, we decided on size to size.
Okay, so the size to size benefit as a noble is that for every drama die that you spend on a social role, or a use of the repartee system, such as mockery, intimidation, or persuasion, it counts as 2 drama dice. The penalty is that you have to spend 2 drama dice to get 1 in a combat. But I'm mentioning that now because this is definitely counting as a derision and mockery.
I don't remember doing that in combat, though.
I don't think you've spent a drama die in combat.
It's true. I think I saved my drama die.
I think you've spent them in social occasions before.
Yeah.
But that
Anyway.
is the benefit of the size to size blood, and I'm going to let you, if you would like, use it on this roll, but that's not a requirement.
Yes.
This is going to be panache and noble because it's all about execution and flavor. You know what I'm saying? It is not about convincing people with their persuasive aspect of like wits and stuff like that. It's about persuasion of the heart. So,
And I keep panache.
you keep your panache.
Okay, so what is it?
I'm sorry, just do you keep the drama die too? I thought you kept drama die.
Yeah, if she spends a drama dice, she gets keep 2 extra dice.
Yeah.
For each drama dice she spends.
Yeah, I was just talking about the panache for now.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I would like to use size to size heritage. Can Honorine also be asking Anjay about like town history, like basically social scandals that Earhart has been involved in before? Like, does Earhart have a version of like Obama's brown suit or tan suit? And stuff like that. Like that's what she's going for, and can she use that?
Did he ever wear white after Labor Day?
Let me just check something real quick.
I love it when I make you check something. It gives me this unmitigated feel of power. Executive producer of SAS.
So the thing that is sort of whispered in the court that is like, the thing that is known to be a guaranteed way to like get Redmond really mad is that all of the wealth he ascribes to his own foresight in picking up and purchasing so much of Freeburg. Does that make sense? He was like the early investor kind of thing, right? What kind of puts him into a rage is the fact that his father bought most of the land. Redmond utilized it well. But he definitely like is as rich as he is because he inherited daddy's wealth and luck.
There is 100% going to be like a couple scenes of like playing whack-a-mole, like as he scatters to his different empty houses. Like there's going to be like a sugar daddy joke. Like I swear to God, daddy dearest, sugar daddy. I don't know. I'm not as smart as Honorine is.
You know, the gender neutral term is glucose guardian.
Veronica is delighted by the idea of playing Redmond as like a literal diaper wearing baby throughout the entire thing.
I dig it. I dig it. Okay. All right. Let's roll
With a
this
pig
bitch.
nose.
Okay,
Um,
so go ahead and roll it. The raises are going to come after. You're going to get 17 total, and I will give you the grand total of the effect on Redmond's reputation at the end of it.
Okay, so I'm right now. What I have that I'm rolling is going to be Panache and Noble, right?
That is correct.
And then I'm going to spend a drama die and get 2 extra cap die. So that's
2k2.
Yep. So you have a panache of 4, right?
yeah, that's 7k6.
So it's a base of 6k6, and you have a 1 noble.
Yeah.
Okay. I will also give you the benefit of your appearance during the course of this, simply because it is about leadership, and you're not actually doing the performing yourself. So that should be 1 or 2 extra unkept dice.
It's 1.
Okay.
Because it's above average, not stunning. Sorry, we can't all be God's favorite. Okay, so I lost track of the math. Okay, so we're doing 6k6, 7k, 8k6.
Yep.
Plus 85.
Okay, so we've got 47.
Plus 85.
That is
Right.
32. 132.
Yep. I'm grabbing my calculator real quick.
Please
Do y'all
double check my
still
math.
need
I
me
did it
to
all in my head.
roll for this?
No, I'm not doing it for that. That sounds right to me. So.
Oh, wait, did you guys roll? Did Runa roll and stuff?
No.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, please do. Please roll and add yours to the total.
What am I adding craftsman to?
I will let you do either finesse or brawn for
Brawn
like
is
the
better.
physicality. Or I will actually let you do resolve for just like fucking working tirelessly and being like the hardest working stage manager they've ever seen.
Okay.
So all stage managers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Just being a stage manager.
It's
So-
basically a function of stage managing.
5, keep 4. Team, should I use a drama die?
Yes.
Go for it.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
love.
And that gives me an extra 2, keep 2.
You get
No,
One keep one. You get one. Keep
Oh,
one. This is
my
that's
bad.
her thing.
I was wrong about a thing, and that's okay.
It's a lovely joke that is just how many actors does it take to change a light bulb? 3, 1 to do it, and 2 to say how they would have done it differently.
So 6,
How many stage
keep
managers does it take
5.
to? It's already done.
Bro.
Holy shit.
That was a
Let's
fucking
What did
60.
you do? Holy shit.
192.
Jesus Christ.
Runa is like, and this is how we build a long ship in a week.
I will not be sleeping.
So her and Hans have that in common.
She's doing this for her friends, and she's having a good time. It's comparable to ADHD hyperfixation to an insane
Okay.
degree.
She's like, I
Comparable
haven't had
is
a
the
chance to
wrong
work
word.
this
It's
hard in
absolute,
weeks.
yes.
And I love it.
So with Gavs, like handing over the like list, I'm gonna give that a plus 10 bonus to the total. Okay. And that's gonna
That
put us
makes
at
it
202.
2.
Yep. Which is going to translate to 20 points of loss of reputation on like the opening night.
Haha.
It's only opening night.
Oh.
Damn.
So he can take actions to try to like ameliorate it and stuff like that, but like overnight his reputation goes from -33 to -53. He was a deeply disliked dude, but he is now the most notorious bad man in Freiburg.
Finish him.
All right, and
Get rid of him.
like
On it.
like
Did it.
people leave the like burlesque opera forgetting there were breasts. It's like they
Ah,
are
it's
But
like
one
but
of
that
their-
piece
singing
of the
song.
stage, amazing.
it's one of those
They
things
are-
where their ha-has were bigger than their tatas.
They are singing the songs. They are, and most importantly, citywide, they are laughing at Redmond Earhart. Um, uh, yeah, I think Gao just asked what Ingvild's reputation as the captain of the Revenge was, and I think it was a negative 56. So he's
Runa's
like
mama.
3 points off from like a dread pirate captain. Um, and what really happens is that like across every district except the Stone of the Wizen, where the Philosopher's Stone, like there's an agreement, like we know what the problem is. Does that make sense? It's no longer sort of like a question. It's and like one of the things that just immediately kind of like becomes a chant becomes is like no more rent. Like they're just not paying. And given like the proportion of his income that comes from that rent, yeah, I mean he can use Wakun people to like throw them out, but he can't do it to everyone. And even if he did, he wouldn't have people to rent.
At that point, he
And
also
how
doesn't
long
have
can
enough money to pay the people to throw out people.
yeah?
Yeah,
How
now
long
he
is
has
he gonna have
enormous
that?
reserves.
Okay.
He has enormous reserves. Nobody knows exactly how much. You know what I'm saying? Um, he's extremely wealthy. But what's basically happened is that like he has degrees of holdings that give him income and stuff like that, and all of those are zeroed out for a time. He might eventually start renting again. He might eventually decide that like, he's going to reclaim his businesses and use force to do it. But basically at this point, like his reputation is going to continue to deteriorate until he either like negotiates with those like renters and everything like that and reduces rates and makes concessions and stuff like that, or he goes above in the top villainy wise to like the point where most of the city will probably be an open and violent revolution. One of the things that changes is the riots, because there's no longer this sort of just like general rage against people who have when they don't have. Does that make sense? It is now laser focused on the person who has taken it from them.
Oppression has a face.
Exactly. And it has a
And
face
it's
that is
that
on the
of
farce. It's a
it's
got
that
this
of
weird-
Jabba the Hutt.
He's got this weird comb over. It's just it's disgusting.
We've actually got a picture of Redmond. He's not a handsome dude.
Uh-uh.
No, he's not.
He's very
I don't
piggy.
think Arthur's seen it
No,
because
Oh,
Guard wasn't
yeah.
here.
It's
Arthur's just. Oh yeah, yeah. That's just add a mustache to your president, and that's it.
Excuse me. Some
Um,
of us come here for escapism.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
so moving on. So there's like an almost immediate attempt from like the Wakun to like shut down the play. Does that make sense? But it doesn't even require like resistance on the behalf of like the PCs. Does that make sense? The Bear House is like under protection. You know what I'm saying? When the Wakun comes in, the drunk ass patrons who have been there waiting for the next show to start are like, let's go. And, the bartender's like,
fight?
those cost money. Please stop breaking the glass. That's a table. That's my table. I did. But it's a throwdown. It's we're not just gonna like let this happen. Does that
as
make
long
sense?
as no one touches my set.
They wouldn't dare. That's part of the show.
Somebody, I'm just picturing somebody like accidentally breaking a bush and getting like a lightning blast from off stage.
Just like Runa's unseen, unheard.
The next scene is him flying through a window and Runa like, don't touch the set.
You have no
Um,
idea how long I worked on that.
So I'm going to switch the focus back to Arthur for a moment. In helping with all of this, I imagine there's a certain degree to which like there's a growing kind of acceptance as he's like really working alongside for the first time, I think. And there might be some mistrust still and stuff like that, but I think it is the first time people have seen a more serious side of Arthur, right?
Oh,
and
he's not
and not
smiled
the
once
endless
during this
patter.
entire time. He's been pissed.
Part of the team building, right? So, um, where is Arthur staying with all of this? Like, because it's probably not the wisest idea to go back to the tavern and cross the river and
Oh, he politely goes, "Thank you so much for letting me stay here. I'm going to take my things of like the 5 things. They all fit in my pockets, really, mate. Except for that bottle. That bottle's mine. It's a good whiskey." And then he starts, and then he finds like a. Essentially, what he does is he tries to find like a place he can shack up at night. Doesn't matter where it is. It's just as long as he can, even if he has to like bounce from place to place.
So the riverfront is a fairly like dangerous place, but there's actually you'd heard the rumors while you were staying at the tavern of the tavern owner's like big rival that was like apparently actually a good innkeeper and also had bare knuckles boxing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's out in the Draken Nest.
Yeah, I'll pay a visit as well.
But it's as he's coming in towards it, like with the intent of kind of checking it out. He sees a woman walking towards him, and he realizes that he recognizes her, like just one of like the conquests. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh, I recognize
maybe
you.
remembers.
Tuesday, every third Tuesday. You know.
And as she takes another step towards him, her face shifts, and suddenly she's Wednesday. And as she takes another step towards him, she's Thursday.
When have the Sealy been allowed back in the city?
She says, I have their blood, she says, but I'm not one of them.
Then
She
how
says,
are you not getting incredibly sick?
she says, I'm far enough from the tower. And you're in the Draken Nest at this point. You're kind of near to like the market plots. Does that make sense? So the green area that is, I'll switch over to the districts. Yeah, so the green area that's kind of on the edge of like the riverfront is where that particular bar was. Does that make sense? It's about the same distance that the young Selkie had been. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? She says, I have their blood, but I'm not one of them.
I got a bunch of things from them as well, and I'm also not one of them. But that's yours is more sounding a little incorrect. Okay.
She says, we need to talk.
Ah, fantastic. Oh.
And her face kind of shifts again. She's a woman that you would never have looked twice at. Does that make sense? She didn't have the beauty to kind of like stand out in a crowd. She's just sort
Or
of
the confidence to
brown
really go along
hair,
with that.
brown hot, and she just seems to like disappear. Does that make sense? Like one of those women who would like step out of the way of everybody else. Watching Sarah just freak out at the moment. And she gestures Arthur to follow.
All right.
Uh, um, and she opens the door into like a small like townhouse that is in the area that like you've come to know that like Hans and Len live. I don't know if Hans is still living there. He's been offered a place down in the riverfront, or not in the riverfront, in Vinerhearth. It's up to you if he's moved or if he's just kind of holding on to it and seeing if this whole captain thing works out.
I don't think he's committed to moving quite yet, but he's probably he has Otto is still there, so he's going back and forth as much as he can. But there's definitely like days where he's just sleeping in his like office.
All right. As she steps in and kind of invites Arthur, and Arthur can see that there's a huge mural on the wall of her room. And the part of it that she sees first is Hans himself. It looks as though like almost from above, like she was on the ground looking up at him. Does that make sense? And it's of Hans running with like a scroll gripped in his hand.
All right.
But it's not
So
the only one. There's every other person on the council is on the walls of this mural.
this is
There's
a little disconcerting.
You see like Rosa with like cards kind of floating above her hand. You see Gav like down in the sewers with like a hook in his hand that looks like it was painted months ago. Um, you see Runa uh like her face stretched in pain, and it looks like something diseased is growing across her arm that looks like some sort of rune. Um, you see a bear crashing through a ceiling. And um, she kind of like reaches for a glass of water, and she says, I serve the Lady of the Lake, who you know to be one of the three queens of the city. Queens the she, I'm sorry.
No, I get that. That's like all joy and jubilation has left Arthur's face. It's the hell does she want from me now?
Um, she smiles. Um, she says, she is not the one who kept you, although she calls that one a cousin. She says, it's I who asked for you to be here. It's I who sent word to the Selkie of the child that was in danger. She says, because I need someone here who can walk to the tower without growing sick.
Oh, it's lovely to know I've been exploited so far.
Um, uh, as you kind of like, you see that there's like one more um, piece of art kind of like on the doors you're coming through. You see, did you meet Gerard before? Were you ever in a game at the same time?
I think we were just like for a brief one
Okay.
second, but yeah.
You see him lying in fields of snow with blood running out of him, his face pale. And the last image that you see is of Honorine with her eyes like burning with flame. Um, and like a shadowy figure behind her.
Fucking fortune tellers. These people are all doomed, aren't they?
She says they have all been caught up in the web of fate. And her eyes kind of like fix on the Newman coin that's like around her neck. And she says, you know something about that.
I know too well.
She
So,
says,
is my picture here along with these horrific graffitis?
um, she kind of gestures around and you see that you're not. She says, that necklace. Um, she kind of like reaches and she puts her finger into the cup of water that she's holding, and you
Oh, it's
see the image of it just start to like flicker and change. And you see like Hans sitting in his office with like a beautiful woman sitting on his lap, and then her just kind of like smiling and getting up and seeming like pleased with whatever the outcome of the conversation was. She says, I can see any of them. She says, but with that necklace, I can't see you.
let's keep it that way then, shall we?
Um, she says, it's beyond my ability to change.
Well, these people aren't bad. How much can you tell me about what's actually going to happen to him? Or do you only know the endings of their stories?
Says, the futures I see are never set in stone.
Of course not. That's not what I was asking.
Um, she kind of pauses, and you see the image of Hans again. Does that make sense? And you kind of see a moment where he's like rising into the air and a bullet kind of smashes into his panzer hand, and you watch as like more armor forms around his forearm and his shoulder. And then you see like another image of him with a blade that's as black as the armor that he's wearing. And now he has like pads of steel on his knees, greaves of black metal. You can see he looks paler than he does before. She says, I know that he is becoming something I have never heard of outside of Avalon. Says, I have no idea how someone so far from its shores can become a glamour, but he is.
What now?
Um, and Arthur knows that like what a glamour is like heroes of legend who become so like enwebbed in Avalon's history that glamour mages can call upon them. They can gain the archery ability of like Robin Goodfellow or the insane weird luck of or like the ability to disappear behind like shadows and stuff like that, like the like Jack O'Bannon. Um, you've heard of it happening like in your own lifetime because the current uh pirate or not pirate king, like the current privateer Jeremiah Barrick, um he's so insanely lucky that his luck is itself becoming a glamour. And like there are cases of glamour mages using it even though Jeremiah Barrick himself is still alive. His legend is that powerful.
This isn't good.
She says, last week I was nearly discovered. She says, the goddamned bear nearly found me out. um, she says, I cannot afford to act so directly any longer. Says, but I need to know what they are planning.
Can't quite help you with that yet.
Um,
Awesome. And whether or not it's worth to help you is a different question altogether.
she says, I know that you don't like the idea, she says, and it stinks to you of treason. She says, but if you will not help me, then I'll tell your mother where you are.
I'll tell your mom.
This is where this is kind this is one of those rare moments where any facade of kindness and nice is gone from Arthur as he kind of roughly sort of like pins her to the wall.
She doesn't even flicker with fear.
Tell my mum anything about me, and I'll let what I know about the Sealy to the world.
She says, then we have a deal.
Call it a terse agreement.
Um,
As long as you can keep these people safe.
and she's suddenly wearing the face of a blonde that you spent like an entire weekend with. She says, you do your best work, Terse.
Arthur lets go, starts to walk away, and very much, these are good people. I don't know them very well, but I can tell from a very simple perspective that these are good people. Whether or not they believe it or not.
She says, I
Let me keep him
respect.
safe.
She says, I'll respect your wishes to the best of my ability. But when it comes to a choice between them or the world, I have only one choice to make.
So do I. Damn the world. He closes the door behind him.
And the last words he hears before she is out of sight is, I'll be seeing you. So I'm going to put the curtain down there. So a few ongoing questions. Honorine was asking you about the book that Ettore gave her.
Yeah, I need to
The
know.
book,
I meant to have her grab it like when she was getting her stuff, but like I totally spaced it.
so I don't know the actual title of it, but the author is what is relevant. Scaravese is probably responsible for much of the entire outlook of the Vadachi people in its current form. He's equivalent to oh my God, I'm just blanking on his name. Machiavelli. Machiavelli's the prince, and the whole kind of idea that like, it's better to be respected than loved. It's better to be feared. And a lot of their sort of idea of honor is rooted in like pragmatism and victory. Does that make sense? Like winning excuses a lot. There's a very whole like Game of Thronesiness to it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And in reading it, you understand that in a lot of ways, many of the Vadachi codes of honors kind of fly in the face of it and are almost like a fuck you to Scaravesi, but in many other ways, it is deeply ingrained in their culture. But in either case, reading the book and sort of understanding what it's saying is very helpful in just understanding the Vadachi mindset in a lot of matters. Does that make sense? The book is sort of a key to like how to understand an Ettore. Does that answer your question?
He gave me an instruction manual.
Um, the other thing, the satire, doing what it is, the phenomenal success of it, the Bear House. There are two things that I will give you guys the choice of doing with it. Okay. What you can do is you can either increase the quality of the holding of the Bear House, basically like sort of reinvesting its success, both reputation and financially, in the Bear House to make it like a bigger deal. Does that make sense? In which case, it's going to make more money regularly and have more powerful effects on future reputation actions. Or you can take reputation for yourselves and divide it. I will let you vote on what you would like to do.
Bear house.
Bear house.
Bear house.
Fair house.
Does
Okay.
anyone not want to give it to the Bear House?
Look, I want to give it to my friend Frank. He's a really cool guy. He said
Frank's
he's been
irrelevant.
invested in some really good
So,
stuff.
each level of a holding is the equivalent of like 3 character points. The 20 points that you're getting is going to raise it from a basic holding to a fine holding and put 5 points towards an excellent holding. If PCs would like to invest a total of 10 experience points, they can raise it all the way to an excellent holding, in which case its total power is like tripled, and it's going to be a fucking institution in Freeburg.
I can spare one. I've got one left.
It doesn't all have to be right now. Like
Oh.
I'm letting you know that there's like 10 points left, and if it gets that, it's also going to generate 1,500 Gilder every time instead of 500.
Whoa.
Nice. Damn.
12, but I have 7. I'll need to spend it on things.
It's gonna be 9. I've got 1 experience. I'm just giving it now.
I definitely want it to be like something where nobody's contributing more than like 2. Does that make sense? Because it like as a group thing. So
Fair.
Yeah, I can do that.
Wait,
All right, so
I
we've-
missed a thing.
Yeah.
What are we contributing?
So there's 10 experience points left to get the bear house from basically a fine holding to an excellent one. It's already going to be fine holding. It's already going to produce twice as much money. The excellent holding is going to be like 3 times as much money as its base, and also 3 times as much power when it's doing reputation actions. So
I nominate Arthur, by the way.
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
I'm
Arthur.
nominating Hans.
Yeah.
Hans is my second.
I'm good
agree.
for the 2 of those for the XP awards. I think those were 2 great scenes.
Yeah.
We can figure out the holding later in cast chat. Let's talk about the experience and the role play.
I am going to give 5 tonight because it was a lot of fun. And there were some really great scenes. I know it's like a shorter, like I'm actually kind of think I'm keeping to the schedule, or within a few minutes of it.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's 5 experience plus drama dice, plus 1 if you got the bonus, which tonight is going to be Hans and Arthur. I really enjoyed the scene with Adelaide. That was a lot of fun.
You know, if Hans ever mentions this to
Fucking
Arthur,
insane.
he tends to go as always sexual as opposed to any other thing. So he's, you want someone to bunk down with for the night.
I love how you're making this motion while you say things like that.
Yeah,
Arthur's got a type.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Fun
Yeah,
juggling.
smexy.
All right. Yeah, so we will break there.
I
Thank you,
am so
everyone.
grateful for the 60.
That was badass.
That
You
was
have like
Oh,
a
that was
killer
awesome.
set.
ridiculous rules tonight. Like, jeez.
The
Except for
carpenter
mine.
who was the carpenter who was I think like Runa has been been like, I don't think there should be a blacksmith. I think I found my calling. It is woodworking.
And poor Len was
Turns
like,
into Chetney Pockapee.
they keep trying to get me to take my shirt and pants off. I can't sing like this.
And Rosa just being so confused. So confused.
All right. Well, we had a really lively chat tonight. We had some new people showing up. Thank you guys
Yeah.
for coming out and watching.
Yeah.
There's, I believe, 17 more episodes at this point on YouTube if you want to catch up on
What do
the
you
back
mean?
channel.
No,
A lot of
no.
episodes.
Pass.
No, more episodes that we've already done.
More past
yeah.
episodes, past.
Oh, I know, but like, what?
We're at
Has it
17
been
already.
that already?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it.
I was
It
like,
really
we have at
doesn't.
least 100 more episodes.
Yes.
Future.
Of
better.
everything.
Be better.
Do you guys want to know like where exactly you are in my timeline?
Yeah.
How far along are we?
How much do we need to
Or-
derail the story?
Percentage-wise.
for us to have longer?
There are 3 acts that I have in mind. Okay. You guys are getting to the midpoint of Act 1.
Jesus Christ.
It's
What the
okay,
hell?
we have
We're
time.
good.
We're
Yeah.
We have
good.
plenty of time.
Yeah, we can bully him into more later. That's
My note
You have to have one of those
fingers are whimpering.
mafia kind of things, just kind of going. So, we hear you like more episodes. You know,
You do, huh?
No, my note taking fingers are like cringing.
aw. Of course.
You're going to be like, this is me learning to dictate by voice.
You need to get one of those like special split ergonomic keyboards.
No doubt.
this is on topic and slightly off.
We're still live,
so-
We're
guys.
still live, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still gonna share
This
this
is
real
the
fast.
second
It's
week
really
we've done
fun.
that.
We do that all.
Go ahead.
So in my family, we have, if you've ever heard of Jean Little, she's an author and she's blind. She's a family friend, which is crazy to me. And her computer, she had set up before, like a bunch of other stuff was set up. She was blind and she had to write her books. So it was all voice to text. And this was like before that really
that's
became a
cool.
thing.
Whoa.
And that's just yeah.
Very
I
cool.
need to talk to
Yeah.
that woman.
Oh, she's dead.
All right. On that note, let me close out.
Just wanted to drop that in there.
Okay.
Time to learn
So,
some new skills.
Everybody who's been with us watching, everybody who's joining tonight, everybody who's been watching along the whole time, thank you so much for being here. It's lovely to have so much like activity and chat, to hear people responding and getting into the story. Catch us on YouTube. like and subscribe there, leave a comment. It always helps. And of course, you're always welcome to be in the chat as we're live. Like that's the most awesome. But we're really grateful to have you here. Uh, we have a closeout that we do in Dirty 20 because there's a lot of times where it is asking a lot of people to be kind. And sometimes, we're in a world where it feels like it doesn't deserve it. And when you're in that space, when you're stretched too thin, when things are too hard, you can always be nice. And that's all we're asking. If you can't be kind, be nice. And we will see you again next Sunday. That's all. Thank you guys. Good night.
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Bye.